Hey, welcome to the Wondrous Podcast. I am Retro Loneliness, one of your hosts, and once again, I'm joined by, Jared.
Hey, Jared here. I have a YouTube channel called Midnight Lab, and I'm an audiobook narrator.
Alrighty, and today we're flipping the podcast on its head. We're gonna start off by talking about all the hottest movie and show stuff first, rather than video game stuff, because there seems to be more of that out right now. And
Yeah.
to start things off, we're gonna be talking about the two latest movies that film enthusiasts are thinking about watching, Barbie and Oppenheimer. What do you think about those movies, Jared?
I think they're pretty thematically opposed to each other, but I think people are equally excited for both of them. And rightly so, I'd say, based on the trailers from both of them.
What why is there such an attraction to Greta Gerwig's Barbie movie?
It seems to be almost following the premise of the Lego movie in the sense where they're adhering to the actual standards of the toys themselves, the products that the name is tied to, but they're presenting it as if it's real characters that live in that frame. So, like, the Lego movie presented it as living, breathing characters, but it's revealed to be basically a Lego set in some kid's imagination. So that's the direction it looks like they're taking based off the first major trailer. But they did kind of make it look like towards the end of the trailer that like Barbie and Ken are like leaving that narrative and like escaping the confines of like the Barbie playset or something. It looks pretty. It looks like it's trying to be subversive and satirical in some ways. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you definitely see as they're in that pink car in the trailer where Ryan Gosling, who's literally me, what is it showing us? He's holding up the yellow skates. You see that they're leaving behind Barbie Land, which is essentially probably like the place that you're talking about. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I mean, it's the cast. It's the both Oppenheimer and Barbie have really stacked casts. From what it looks like, they have it's Margot Robbie, literally me, Ryan Gosling, Emma McKay, Will Ferrell, Simu Liu, who was what was that Marvel movie where he was in?
Which,
It's the Asian guy.
well, like the Shang-Chi,
Yeah, he was Shang
most
Chi.
recent one.
Yeah, Michael Cera's in it. Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Hari Neff. I mean, the list goes on, man. There's just a ton of them.
Probably where a lot of the budget went to.
Yeah, and the same thing for Oppenheimer. The Oppenheimer cast is pretty stacked as well. You have like Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders. You have Devin Bostick, the same, Roderick. They got Roderick himself in the movie, OG Roderick. Josh Peck, Emily Blunt, Rami Malek, Matt Damon, Jack Quaid, and Florence Pugh and Robert Downey Jr. As
Yeah,
among others such as Casey Affleck, Dan DeHaan, uh, Matthias Schoenfauer, David Dastamalkian, who was the polka dot man from the Suicide Squad. Lastly, Dalen Arnold and Josh Hartnett. Yeah, it's crazy. The list goes on, dude.
that's all of those cast members have been pretty active in the film industry lately. So yeah, like I said, that is probably where a lot of the budget went to, and it's probably going to pay off. They're all pretty charismatic, I'd say. That set of actors, they have carried things on their own.
Yeah, I think, and then the funniest part is that both movies are they're releasing on the same day. So, and since a lot of people are deciding which one should I watch more or which one should I watch first, what if between these two movies, what looks like you would watch, if you were to watch both of these movies on the same day, which one would you watch as either the appetizer or as a main course, and have the other one be like the palate cleanser?
Yeah, I would probably have a preference to see Oppenheimer, just because in concept it seems like a story that's like closer to our world and stuff I might know about and be interested in. and the other it looks like a lot of fun, but because of that, like it may have elements like the story may not be super serious. Could emphasize on comedy more, which is great. But Oppenheimer does look like a more completed and larger piece overall, with you know all of the composing and stuff and the cinematography Christopher Nolan does. That's something that I look forward to.
It's gonna be cool to see how that works out, you know. And there's been like have you heard like there's been a lot of like controversy behind like the both of movies, like especially with Barbie. Like there's been like so much buzz about like what's going on behind the scenes with Barbie. For example, just to start off, like people were talking about how Ryan Gosling on TikTok was like too old apparently, or looked too old in the Barbie movie, which I personally couldn't agree less with. I don't see how. I mean, he's literally Ken. Like he's the Ken to me. Like I don't think like you could put Chris Evans or anyone else, but Ryan Gosling is Ken, dude. Do you think
He,
Ryan Gosling is too old?
no, I don't think. Well, I don't know like what that even means. Like you'd have to have a defined like age for Ken. Maybe there is. Maybe he's supposed to look younger or something, but I don't think that really matters. Even if he like did look quote unquote older.
Yeah, and
Which just from the screen grab that's tied to that article, I wouldn't say so. He does look pretty funny. Yeah, he does look like a Ken.
like what other like things have you seen or heard of from Barbie?
I haven't heard too much outside of what's already been brought up. I think they're going to be dropping more information closer to its release, so maybe we'll know more. But I am excited from what I've seen thus far. It's when I first heard about it, I didn't think it would be what it is. You know?
Yeah, I yeah, it's gonna be cool, interesting, especially since it's releasing on the same day. Like everyone has just been talking about it, dude. Like I've seen like all my friends joke about like Barbie, and like all the memes where it's like bodybuilders like saying like 2 tickets to Barbie, please. It's just funny. And then like all the Oppenheimer memes where it's like it's like I can't believe like where is like Oppenheimer builds like the super like person melter 3000 with like destructo ultra kill, and it's like and then they inform Oppenheimer's like, sir, it seems like your weapon of mass destruction was used for mass destruction. And then it's like the whole joke is like like why are you sad, you made the bomb, dog. It's just really funny. And I learned that like it was like President Truman who was actually like who didn't like Oppenheimer because he thought Oppenheimer was a crybaby because it was essentially on Truman's hands the fact that he like authorized the use of the atom bombs in the first place. It's just cool. It's just funny, just learning things about like history as more buzz for these movies happens.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see a depiction of history in this sense, in a cinematic sense, because it does really. It's probably going to be great, but it is going to be like framed in a certain perspective,
Yeah. How do you feel
which
about? Sorry, continue.
that's just always how it is with historical movies like that are dramatized.
Yeah, yeah. And how? What about like the color palette? Like, have you seen like how different like these movies are shot? Like, do you, if I were to one watch or the other, like how different do you think like the color palette would change?
They're look like they're pretty much on the opposite ends of the color spectrum. So I don't know, might be uncomfortable on the eyes, perhaps, if the screen's that big. I don't know if anyone's doing a double feature of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. I just imagine you get because Barbie is like so bright. It's just like you're gonna get like retina damage or something.
Hmm.
So if you sit close to the screen, yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, yeah, Barbie is being directed by Greta Gerwig, who I don't really know who she is, but I mean, it seems like like the movies she's also known to have directed has been Little Women, No Strings Attached, Lady Bird, Isle of Dogs. Okay. Let's see. The Rome with Love, The Humbling, and that's all I could. Oh, and she's also directed The Place Beyond the Pines, which is another
Really?
movie that Ryan Gosling stars in.
Oh, look at that. Well, it's not a coincidence then.
Yeah, but you have like her movie, like in competition with, you know, Oppenheimer, who was directed with Christopher Nolan, who had has a lot of reputable movies under his belt that a lot of us could just know off the top of our heads, right? Like what are like Christopher Nolan movies that you have seen or that just that he's made?
I've seen pretty much all of them except for Tenet, I think it's called. Haven't seen The Prestige, and I haven't seen Insomnia. I've seen all other ones.
I didn't know that Christopher Nolan directed Transcendence, or did he really try? That's crazy. Who directed that? Whatever.
Yeah, he gets around.
Yeah, so I know he did the Batman trilogy, Memento. I've seen Dunkirk, Inception, Interstellar. And what would be your when it comes to his movies? Like, what do you think is like your favorite or like his best movie that you've seen?
I definitely have an answer for that. For me, though, and it may be controversial, maybe it's not. I think it's The Dark Knight. Even though I think the scope of his more grounded stories, and I say grounded, even though a lot of what I like about The Dark Knight is like how relatable it is when it comes to crime and politics and those kinds of games.
Yeah,
Um,
what I
but
what
really, I even though the other ones are on a grander scale, like Interstellar and stuff, I understand they're like shot with a seemingly on a grander level with a lot more effort compared to something like The Dark Knight. But the messages I think in The Dark Knight are more clear than in his projects that kind of take a bunch of different themes and make you think about them, which I think are very valuable. But The Dark Knight is just very tight to me. Like it's very something's always happening and it's always progressing, it's always escalating,
mm,
and I'm a big fan of it.
that's what's up, man. Yeah, I think like Heath Ledger's Joker performance. I remember originally when the movie wasn't released, a lot of people really questioned whether his portrayal of the Joker was a good one, and a lot of people thought like, oh, like no, the defining Joker is like Jack Nicholson, right?
It was fantastic, and like it's always interesting. There seems to be a lot of debate around Jokers and such, but as long as you embody like the antithesis of Batman, whatever Batman may be like in that representation, then you're probably gonna have a good Joker. You know,
Yeah, I totally agree.
Batman changes too in personality across depictions. So, that's another debate, like who's the real Batman? Well, it's just which Batman story is your favorite, really, is what it ultimately comes down to. But I think he does really well as the Joker.
Yeah, I think my favorite Batman movie would probably have to be like that one as well. It's pretty good.
It's hard to beat. I really like the newest one from last year, just the Batman. But yeah, the Dark Knight still beats it for me.
For me, my favorite Christopher Nolan movie would have to be Interstellar. I like Interstellar a lot.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
it's I think that movie is what got me into like the whole like kino file film like enthusiast mindset, because like when I first saw first saw Interstellar, I remember like one of the best scenes that movie has what had like okay I think like I'm sorry, one of the best movies this movie had that really stuck with me when I first started watching it was that scene in the cornfield where they're
Yeah,
chasing the drone. Beforehand, when I watched movies were just movies, right? They weren't films. There wasn't cinema. It was just like you go in, you have a good time, and then you leave. Like Transformers. Like I thought every movie was like a popcorn kind of movie
like
where you just
popcorn films.
yeah, we just turn off your brain. But when I saw Interstellar, they're in that like chase sequence where they were chasing that drone through the cornfield.
Yeah, he seems to have like a attraction to practical effects, right?
Yeah, I mean, practical will always be CGI to me. Yeah,
Like really, because visually it is authentic.
the when the score was playing, like the song called from the soundtrack of the movie called Cornfield Chase was playing, it made me tear up out of nowhere. I was watching it. I wasn't even like crying or bawling. I was just tearing up like, damn, like this movie is insane. And then as the movie got went on, you had this whole scene where it's like Murph, Murph, where where he's like crying because Murphy, his daughter, can't hear him. And then before that, when I think he was sitting down in the chair and he couldn't, his whole mic system didn't work, so he could see Murph, but he couldn't talk to her, and he was just like disheartened from like that reality that like he couldn't ever see his daughter in her youth or her prime growing up, unfortunately, for the sake of Earth, for finding a new place to live.
I mean, I really liked the time skip in that movie when they had to visit that planet, and a lot longer happened back on Earth
Oh yeah, when they
because of
talk about relativity, yeah, that's cool.
like
Yeah,
just like it has elements like that. That's what I meant earlier. It has stuff that makes you think about grander things on a grander scale, but those aren't necessarily like the point of the movie, you know?
yeah, I think the when I saw, yeah, I think yeah, relativity was cool. Yeah, Interstellar was just crazy. Everyone talks about that one scene where they're on that like water planet, which is kind of nuts, where like every minute, like a year or something, like every 5 years, like happens on
Yeah.
Earth.
And like everything in that scene is like constructed to like help convey that.
Yeah, oh my god, it's crazy. Um, yeah, I think the one constant that all Christopher Nolan movies like have in common is they're all centered around like time. Like Tenet was about like going backwards in time and going forwards in time and shit. Like Dunkirk, the entire time it's about like if you hear the soundtrack, for example, in Dunkirk, like you hear like a clock ticking, like nonstop, like an old stopwatch.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know that. I saw that movie some months ago,
yeah,
and I like even the narrative itself was kind of told out of order.
yeah, yeah. But whenever they were skipping back and forth, they always presented to you like when it happened. I think it was in the Dark Knight Rises, like the scene with where Batman is quote unquote sacrificing himself to save Gotham when he flies the nuke out of Gotham. There's the scene in Dark Knight where like the two bombs in the two buildings where I think it was
Yeah, that is centered around time.
yeah. There's
He's
also sorry you probably like can you explain that scene better? I don't remember it too well.
um, you might be referring to. There's actually, I think, time becomes a factor at two different points in the movie. Uh,
I remember one of them is when it was Barbara Gordon and the mayor.
yeah, he was timed on. He basically was able to choose between saving his love interest or saving Harvey Dent. Was his love interest Barbara Gordon in that film?
I think so. It was I believe it was Jake Gyllenhaal's like sister who was in that
Mhm.
movie.
Harvey Dent, Rachel,
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. Yeah, she did really well, but yeah, he basically had to choose between those two, and he couldn't save them both. Because of that, he lost Rachel in the film, which is like I think it was around not even 2010 when this movie came out. Before that, and that was like a pretty unexpected turn of events for that time period when it came to storytelling. Around that time, you wouldn't expect him to like fail at saving the love interest or anything like that. So it would just go with stuff like that, and we have to still follow the hero and stuff. And yeah, he is later met on with the conundrum between saving. Basically, I think one of the boats the boat problem presents almost like a philosophical conundrum. Explosives are placed on both of the ferries. One has civilians and one has prisoners. I guess there's like less of the prisoners on the boat and there's more civilians on the civilian boat.
Right.
But essentially, I think he lets them sacrifice a boat to save the other. Batman ends up stopping him, though. Neither of the boats get blown up. But that was what's going to happen. He
Yeah.
was basically making them choose, like, to like acknowledge that criminals are viewed differently in society because of X, Y, or Z reasons. And it was essentially a larger version of the trolley problem, but once again timed.
And then I don't remember how Memento does it. Do you know how the Batman Begins would probably deal with time?
I honestly don't remember, but you could just. I know it deals with his like youth and upbringing, and training, turning into the actual titular Batman. So you could make an argument there, but I don't think time is a theme in that film itself.
So it's yeah, so it's gonna be really interesting seeing how he takes like the concept of time with Oppenheimer.
That's. I don't see why that wouldn't be a factor. That's what moves things forwards when it comes to innovation.
Do you think The Dark Knight is his best movie? Do you think that
Uh,
that's his magnum opus?
Well, I wouldn't say objectively it's his best movie. And like I said, I haven't seen all of them, so for all I know, I could watch either of those three or four I haven't seen, and maybe those would be my favorite.
Okay.
But it's got to be in the top three. I think it is the best of the Batman trilogy. I think the other two have like their fair share of things that I'm not really a fan of, but The Dark Knight really holds its own. I think it even can act independently of the other two films, even though it's a trilogy.
What do you what are you not a fan of when it comes to the first two? The first one and the third one.
Well, the first one just wasn't as engaging to me. I guess because I don't know, I wasn't super interested in Batman's training arc, to be completely honest with you. And the third movie, so I guess the first one would be more of an opinionated like thing because I don't really have like exact criticisms I can dish out about it. But when it comes to The Dark Knight Rises, Bane is definitely one of those villains that comes off as wow, he's kind of right about what he's saying. The only problem is his way of enacting it is like extreme and violent.
Gotcha.
So it's like, and it's kind of contrived on why he's extreme and violent. You know, like his reasons for justifying it aren't strong enough. Like for me.
So like the Dark Knight is like a middle ground between both of them, kind of.
Yeah, I think it's got a strong villain motive, strong hero motive, and strong story beats
When
that
it
are really tense all the way through.
when it comes to Dunkirk, you saw it, right?
Yeah,
What were like the scenes you liked most about it?
the aerial scenes are pretty stressful because they're ironically claustrophobic. And I don't know what to say the opposite of claustrophobic is, but they would basically have shots inside the pilot seats and then shots of the whole sky range with the planes dogfighting each other, and that would constantly be happening. So you'd kind of feel the tension of it as the like soldier that's experiencing it and the spectator. That movie wasn't afraid to shift perspectives at all. It actually did that consistently. One of the only consistencies in the movie is it would be shifting perspectives constantly, which I think is a benefit for a war movie because when you think about war, it's kind of bad to think about it as just as just two different perspectives, as just two different sides. It's really about a bunch of people involved in one horrible thing, and it conveys that pretty well.
Yeah, very much true. I enjoy that. And what and like when you saw Memento?
No,
Oops. And lastly, like Interstellar, like what would be like your favorite scene, or like what were the notable things about that movie that you really enjoyed?
I think the visuals are very striking, but for some reason they aren't like super close to my heart for whatever reason. I will acknowledge they're very nice visuals though. I when I think of that movie, I always think about how it prompts existential thought, especially like earlier with the passage of time not lining up with the main characters as opposed to the side characters are all aging and advancing, but our characters are kind of stuck in a linear time, the same as ours that's unmoving. So it kind of just makes you think about that, like what if I was displaced in time? What if someone were to grow up older than me or something like that? And stuff you wouldn't normally think about. And that is, like I said earlier, and it is what I like about Interstellar and films like that. It looks like Oppenheimer might be adopting some existential aspects into the next film as well. But that is what I like about it a lot, how it prompts that cosmic level of thinking outside just what we normally view and listen to.
Sweet.
But taking it into a little less serious route when it comes to cinema and such, there are more upcoming and recently released films that are still making headlines, even alongside the two we just talked about. One of which is a new Spider-Verse movie. It's called Across the Spider-Verse, and it's, of course, looking like a sequel to, I believe it was the 2019 movie, Into the Spider-Verse, or was it 2020?
It was 2018.
2018? You gotta be kidding me. You're
No,
not kidding me.
nope.
Wow.
It's been forever ago.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, this seems like an appropriate time for a sequel if they're gonna do one, yeah. But what do you think about that? Are you excited for that? Are you...
I guess I'm still I to be super frank, I am really, really, really like burnt out from
Spider-Man content?
Marvel like superhero stuff that's like campy, I suppose. I don't I see it, right? But I'm not on the hype train. Like
Mm.
I'm on the like for some reason I've kind of stepped away like from like Marvel, DC's related stuff. More Marvel because it seems like they put Marvel movies on a conveyor belt and they just keep churning these things out, man. Like all the time. So, but like this one's different, you know, like completely. So I guess I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm not gonna skip it. Like I've been, cause I've skipped like a lot of the recent like live action Marvel movies.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I even, well, just based from the first Spider-Verse film, I just know this is gonna be like, it's gonna be well shot, the music's gonna be awesome, the cinematography and action is gonna be awesome. And you could just tell that from the trailer already, too. So that's like the reasons I'm not skipping it. But I am wary of how often can we do multiverse Spider-Man as a concept before it's getting old now. And to this movie's credit, it is the one that started it. So I think it is the one that should deserve a sequel, more so than something like the three Spider-Men from the 2021 film.
Damn.
Yeah, no, it was cool and all. But like, do I think we should be continuing live-action Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, Andrew, and Garfield? I mean, and Tom Holland? Not really, because how much can you do it before it gets old?
100%, man.
I don't doubt this movie's gonna be fun. I have faith they're gonna have an engaging story, but I am probably gonna be like, okay, this probably can't. Maybe it probably won't have a third film. Probably won't be a trilogy, but we'll see.
What are the spider people like that you're recognized that like you're excited to see on the screen?
Oh, I'm not like super knowledgeable about all of the like comic-esque extended Spider-Man characters. I'm very surface level when it comes to the franchise, but I do follow that surface level pretty extensively. Like, I'll play all the games and stuff, watch all the movies, but I'm not well versed on all the comic or like hidden characters that more passionate fans might know about. But it does look like they've widened their scope and are having almost every iteration of Spider-Man like ever conceived, and they're trying to fit it into one film.
Okay. I think the one Spider-Man that I saw from the trailer that looked like badass. Oh, of course, Miguel O'Hara, who's like Spider-Man 2099, is cool. According to the article that's like from Pajiba.com, you know, they did a listing on April 10 called all the Spider People in the Across the Spider-Verse movie trailer. They mentioned Miles and Gwen and Miguel and Peter B. Parker, or like I guess like Peter Parker, and as like the main ones, right, from the original movie, and like make and Spider-Man 2099 being like quote unquote like the antagonist. So yeah, like 2099 Spider-Man is probably like one of my favorites, but as I go down, it's cool seeing that they're adding like snippets of like they're adding Ben Riley, which is the Scarlet Spider. You see Spider-Man Unlimited from the 1990 series, which I thought was badass.
I actually agree with that. I do know about that one. And they even have the one straight out of the recent Insomniac games,
Oh
uh,
yeah, that's true.
which is kind of that's funny.
Yeah. It's and it's in the trailer where you see the Insomniac Spider-Man, you see that he's actually walking with the Insomniac version of Miles Morales as well, which is
Oh, they have a the game devs have an opportunity here.
yeah, it'd be tight. And lastly, one of the sillier iterations of Spider-Man is it's Spider Horse.
I mean, of course.
Yeah, it's like he's a horse with spider powers.
I feel
That's
like I haven't heard a joke like that since like the Simpsons movie with the Spider Pig. It
yeah.
feels like that again, but just later.
Yeah, I don't think John Mulaney's like coming back for the like this
Spider Pig.
yeah for like for Spider Pig or Nick Cage. I don't know if Nick Cage is coming back as well, but I think if by them not returning, it would only serve to give time to the other Spider people to have like the spotlight. For example, they're adding the original Spider Woman, who was Jessica Drew. Yeah, she's like this African American lady. A lot of people are used to seeing like what seems to be like her like slick black hair. Probably, I don't know if she's like Caucasian or like Asian, but like that version of Spider Woman. And then I think that Spider Punk and Spider Man 50 101 are probably gonna be like mentioned a lot in the movie as well, or at least intent and more than Spider Horse.
Yeah, there's even like detailed descriptions. Well, they're surface level, but there are descriptions and like surface level personalities for each of these small snippet characters just from the trailer. So these characters are all defined, and I guess have been canonical in some form at some point, or officially recognized throughout history, comic book history. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and as well as with like Spider-Man, Spider-Man's cool. Yeah, overall he's really tight. With Spider-Verse being like on the come up, but there's another movie, moving away from comic book movies, we have and moving towards like video games. The Mario movie recently released. What's up with that?
That's been doing very well. I think even now, when we pulled this article, when we did, it wasn't even that long ago, but I do think it surpassed what this says already. It says it was on track to become the highest grossing video game movie of all time. I think it already is now.
Seriously, what would be
Yeah, it's
according
made around $729 million already. Almost $1 billion.
Yep, $729.4 million. Well, it's a lot of money, I gotta say. I could buy
Yeah,
a lot of PS5s with that.
that does make it the biggest grossing video game movie adaptation of all time.
Yeah, when this article that we pulled up initially to talk about the Mario movie, it already surpassed, Detective Pikachu, Rampage, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and the live action Uncharted movie. And it just seems to have, and it's yeah, and it seems to have beat like Ant-Man and the Wasp's opening, which makes sense.
I'd hope so.
Have you seen the movie?
The Mario Brothers or Ant-Man and the Wasp?
The Mario movie.
I haven't seen the Mario movie. I have seen all the trailers and early reactions and reviews, though. They seem to be mostly positive. I haven't heard anyone have any harsh criticisms about the movie, and ones that I have heard seem to be like based on preference and opinion. But to me, it does look like, yeah, it looks like an Illumination film. It looks pretty standard. It probably has some good jokes. It probably has some dud jokes. It's probably inoffensive, and there's probably a lot of Mario references and a lot of high quality Mario animations and references, which I think is pretty much the point of it and why people would want to go see it in the first place. So I do think it's probably a success in that aspect, and I am gonna go see it. I think maybe not in theaters, but I do intend on seeing it. Because yeah, I do want to see what it is, what I guess, what the mainstream is now for video game movies. So yeah, I do want to see it. Do you?
I definitely my lady friend is definitely suggesting that we go see it. Which I mean,
Okay.
happy wife, happy life and stuff. So I don't see why not. I haven't stepped in a movie theater in quite a while. I think
Neither have I, honestly.
I think the last movie I did see was probably The Whale with that starring a friendly neighborhood Brendan Fraser.
I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, that is a big popular uh, movie based on a video game franchise that just recently got released. However, that is reminding me of a genre that is somewhat controversial in the sense that it doesn't, in my opinion, have a lot of high quality examples of what we think the standard of it would be. And that would be movie adaptations of games,
Okay.
in the
Uh,
sense where yeah, they're made from the games directly or even inspired by them.
yeah,
Uh,
I think I remember the first one, like the first ever like video game movie was probably the original Mario movie that starred John Louis Guizamo, however you
like
pronounce his name.
one with the live action.
The live action one, the grotesque looking one. Yeah,
I think that did pretty well, didn't it? Like
I
it was pretty iconic for the time or something.
I don't know. Um, God damn, I need to sleep. And then like I remember in 2012, Wreck It Ralph was probably like one of the better original, well not original, but like one of the quote unquote video game movies that released that actually did well
Yeah, I
for
think
the first time.
one of the first times like video game references were like on screen as a main like center point that like wasn't questioned by society. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that I found that shit to be like super dope when I first
Yeah,
saw the original.
because it was at a point where uh, kids who grew up with video games had just become adults, and now they could take their kids to a movie about video games. So I think that worked out really well because yeah, a lot of kids did want to go see that, and parents by that point were like, "Oh yeah, I'm familiar with video games. Let's go see it." So now we're here. I feel like I think you're right. It kind of snowballed since Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. What other like movies that have been box office hits or like box office blunders do you remember since then?
There was. Have you seen the World of Warcraft movie?
I didn't. I heard it was shit though.
I watched the World of Warcraft movie. I enjoyed it when I watched it. I don't remember why people disliked it. I think it may have been like a lore discrepancy or something like that, or maybe what they decided to focus on is their story. But I do think they wanted to set it up as a cinematic universe, but it didn't perform very well. But I enjoyed that film. I would have liked to see more Warcraft movies, but there's probably good arguments for why it didn't perform well. I'm not super versed on Warcraft lore, so you can't ask me there. But I can say I did like that. Same with the recent Mortal Kombat movie, but I liked it in the sense where it was kind of bad to the point where it was good.
Which one?
The most recent Mortal Kombat movie. So it was
Oh my god, I
like
know which one you're talking about. Oh my god. That movie does suck. It was so bad.
yeah, but I enjoyed like watching it as a bad film, Like it was entertaining to me.
Like, do you remember the sequel to the first Mortal Kombat movie?
Is that one of the older ones?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Have you seen the first? I think the first Mortal Kombat movie that came out, which was pretty tight though.
It might have been, but didn't it also perform poorly?
I don't think so because it got a sequel.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there's been other movies that have came out since then have been like the Prince of Persia movie, Sands of Time, with like Jake Gyllenhaal starring in it. Yet the Assassin's Creed movie that starred what is it?
There was Uncharted recently.
Yeah, that one.
I didn't
as
like
well.
the look of. It looks like they were trying to fit the plot of all four games into one movie.
Yeah, fuck that. I saw it and I was like cool, but at the same time I was like stupid.
Did
Yeah.
they try to fit all four games into one movie?
They did. They used like every single set piece. Like
I see.
they used the
Okay,
airplanes.
hold on. Let me guess. I haven't seen it, so I want to guess. The plane from 3 is not even fair because that's in the trailer. I know they focus on his brother, which isn't a thing until the fourth game, so I know that's a thing. Does his brother betray him in the movie? And is the island from Uncharted 1 in the movie? Is there like an island or like jet ski sequence? And then is the train sequence from Uncharted 2 in the movie?
That I think the train sequence from U2 is in
Hmm,
the uh,
most likely.
and then that what they do in Uncharted, they do the thing from Uncharted 4 where they try to go after like the ships. It's actually two ships they find treasure in, not one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and there's this scene, and the way they copy Uncharted 1 is that they airlift the boats, and then like you see him, they're like essentially like just like in Uncharted 1 where like they're trying to lift El Dorado, they're trying to airlift the boats, and they're fighting on the boats in the middle. It's just like this whole thing, and Chloe is there, but the whole time, she's just like being a double, triple agent for like the main bad guy,
I see.
who I don't even remember.
Yeah, there's they. I think video game movies have a hit or miss record. To be honest.
Yeah, they're usually passable or dog shit, which is kind of insane.
I agree, but yeah, it seems like we may be in a new standard now where video game movies are a lot more common, and we wouldn't even segment it like this. We may just be like, oh, hey, there's a new video game movie in theaters this week. Kind of like how it was with like zombies and like sports movies based off real events for a while.
And speaking of video game movies, we could, as we venture closer to, now that we're venturing towards like video games, what about movie video games, not video game movies? How do you feel about those? Because I remember like there were so many iterations of those. There was like the Transformers video games that are based off the movie. There was like Chicken Little. There were so many of them.
Oh yeah, I used to be a sucker for those when I was a kid, because I would recognize, oh hey, that's the movie I just saw. Those are the characters from that movie. I wonder how that plays out in the game. And most of the time, this was like a big thing in the 2000s, mid 2000s, probably until like more online games became a thing. Movie video games would just kind of tend to follow the plot of the movie or attempt to, and just kind of pad it out with either mini games or super unfleshed mechanics.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'd be, a bit of fun and like quirky and just memorable, like Chicken Little. That's not a. I don't think it's a great movie, and I also don't think it's a great game. But I'll never forget it.
Do you remember that one spy movie with the hamsters or the gerbils or whatever the fuck they're called?
Yes, that movie is called G-Force.
Yeah, G-Force. And then they had a video game too.
Did you play that video game?
Briefly, yeah.
How would you rate the G-Force video game?
Like a solid 5, like a straight mid pack, like just 5.
Like a video game.
Yeah, yeah. Those, like when it comes no, if we're talking about the dichotomy of video games, and video game movies, who is worse and who is better, and how is one worse and how is one better in the format?
I guess movies based off of video games have a bigger challenge, I feel like, because they're seeking out an audience that comes from a place where if it's a game, you're kind of knowledgeable about mechanics and story and stuff to a degree where you fully might not be when a movie's being adapted off of something like a play or a book. So, because you're controlling the action, you might think some aspects of a film are more important to include. So that's kind of up to the directors, like, oh shoot, what do we include from the game to make fans happy and keep everyone satiated?
Yeah.
Which it is a big challenge. And whereas I feel like, video games that you get ported from movies usually quickly, close to the film's launch, seem a little more cash grabby in concept.
And is that like still done today, or like when's the last time you seen like a video game movie, a movie video game? Sorry.
I don't know. Let me look up like if there's like some kind of Minions video game.
I mean, there's been, I mean, yeah, I think there's been like plenty of Minions bullshit that's come out, especially on mobile games. But like,
That's
then,
what I think. Yeah, there's a lot of mobile games. I don't think it's very common to have like a immediate port of a movie that just comes out like spread out across Xbox, PlayStation, PC for like each major release now. Whereas before there would kind of be that for almost every major release,
okay,
especially when it came to like children's movies or animation. They would try to get a video game out as fast as possible.
gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I feel about that. But like that, when you're making a video game and you want to include as much as important details as you can into it, there are things that you need to make tough decisions on and leave out, which is a harsh reality. But I tend to like to daydream about idealized versions of media I consume. Because I don't know, it's just fun to do that. It's not like I need it or say it's necessary, but I do think a lot about video games who have had a lot of cut content over the years, especially ones that advertise to have features that are then not present at launch. Thing happens with every video game, with every book, with every movie. There's always stuff you have to cut out. But it does suck when that aspect is a forefront of your advertising, and then it's nowhere to be seen on launch day. What do you think, Retro? Do you have any examples of that, or do you feel
Well,
what you
yeah.
have?
I mean, I remember you were specifically talking about, I believe it was Bioshock Infinite that
Yeah,
had like some cut content. Like,
yeah.
what was missing from that you saw that was most notable?
Bioshock Infinite was, I guess, a little too ambitious in its promotional material leading up to launch. Um, the story ended up being a multiversal kind of philosophical conceptual story that more so raises questions about time and family, politics and society, whereas it was kind of more promoted and seemed like in development, during development, it was going to be a grounded story about two specific individuals, one of whom could manipulate time, in which you would make very difficult moral choices that affected the political climate of the setting you were in. Whereas on release, it was kind of wider, it was more philosophical. You only stuck with the two titular characters, whereas everyone around you was constantly changing because you're constantly changing timelines. Hence the infinite title.
Wow.
But yeah, that's just one example. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, Metal Gear Solid. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 could have been one of the greatest video games ever made, which still like a lot of people still hold that game to that level. Like, there's been a lot of things cut from the game that a lot of people really gave a shit about. When it comes to the Phantom Pain, Chapter 3 was originally going to be the actual ending title card after completing the Mission 46 and Mission 51 with the achievement of the absolute nuke disarmament. You had Chico's extraction, the Skullface boss fight, and then Mission 51 was going to be included, and it even had 30% of its cutscenes rendered, but it was cut before release. And it originally explained what happened to Eli and the kids after their escape from Mother Base, and it's so like no information was ever given, but it's only based on speculation, and it is unknown why it has been removed. However, it's still like part of the canon, which is really weird.
So there's loose ends, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and they've also cut like co-op. Like there was gonna be co-op with alongside MGO3, and they didn't. The combat knife and Skullface's signature lever rifle was gonna be an unlockable firearm, and those were not it. There was a plushie snare, an ambulance, and the Triumph Bonneville T100. There was gonna be a costume for D Horse. There were gonna be attack dogs. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of stuff. They cut out a lot of dialogue too.
It seems like a significant amount. And I remember Ground Zeroes came out before the Phantom Pain. Was that meant to be a part of it? Was that ever meant to be a separate like game on its own? Because I remember it had like a $40 price tag, and it was really just like a level from the Phantom, which came out like a year later.
Yeah, I don't know the things
Yeah,
that
that's
they
just speculation. I just
right,
thought it was weird how they
right.
did that.
So what they did was, in the playable Mother Base rescue, there were sound files found where Mother Base soldiers were screaming in like HQ, which were never used in the game, plus other coding that suggested that the map was playable, and they had like coordinates for Miller's AI, which really implied there was more than just a cutscene. Plus, the boss was supposed to fight the XOF soldiers alongside Miller, and it's really weird how they scrapped it with the and as well as the Cypress hospital escape, which was going to be replayable, I think, but they recycled that too. Um, but they were gonna allow you to do the Diamond Dogs Mother Base, but to be playable, but they scrapped that so you could only really play it in the Phantom Pain. Uh, I don't know. They had unused weather, prison dogs, enemy mortars, and the solid eye. But those were cut as well. They had the machete, AK-102, the M4, the Mosin Nagant, the Scar. The sniper rifle that Quiet uses in the Phantom Pain was also cut. Shaft grenades, rations, the cardboard box, the bandana, and a dog skin, for example.
Yeah, I
Just a
mean,
lot.
yeah, it sounds like it could have been almost an entirely different game. But I guess you could say that about almost any game's cut content, which is inevitable. But I guess it's only really disappointing when it seems like that was the original intention or idea of the project. And I think in Metal Gear Solid's case, yeah, I don't think the director of the game got to do what he wanted to fully.
No, Hideo Kojima, man. Like he's not dead, but rest in peace. What could have been Metal Gear 5.
Well,
And
yeah, I guess rest in peace his affiliation with Metal Gear.
yeah, and why is it that, man? Like, can you Let's speculate. Like, why are like games like coming out like so botched today? Like nowadays, man. Like tinfoil hat even. Fuck it.
Well, I don't even think it's that tinfoil hat. It's just that the owners of the properties find that aspects that make great games, like making Metal Gear 5 even greater than it already is, costs a lot of money and time before you get a return on that investment. Whereas you could just as easily put the same amount of money into something like a mobile game or a pachinko machine and get that return tripled even faster and guaranteed because of how well microtransactions. So I think it was more so, and this is speculative, I guess this is tinfoil hat, but I don't think it's that far off from how the world works. I think they just didn't want to give him as much money as he needed to make Metal Gear 5 greater and bigger than it already was, because they felt it may be a waste of money when it probably wouldn't have been a waste of money.
Yeah, like I think one of the things that they're doing, one of the active things I've saw that recently that they're doing is like with Destiny 2, because the game is too fucking big now with all the new shit they keep trying to add. They're actually like quote unquote vaulting like other like DLCs that
Mm-hmm.
people paid for, which is kind of insane.
Wild.
I don't understand. Like it's just weird. It's just so. And then the same thing with like Halo, like Infinite. Like these games were supposed to, Halo is known for, its not only for its story, but people recognize it for like Forge and and like the co-op that it had when you played the story mode, and they removed that and they didn't add it at launch, and I don't think that's like fair to the people that have been like fans of the series for so long. Like
Yeah.
some people might call it like being entitled, but if you're a dedicated person that's like sunk their money into like this series for so long, and has dedicated so much headspace to learning all the like stupid lore that come with the games, and participating in the subreddits or the 4chan threads on it and whatnot. and you keep it with the news on the games because you want to, use your wallet to buy more of that stupid shit that comes with the games, or the games themselves. And it's just such a disappointment when like these games come like half-assed finished. And it goes back to one of the things we talked about like a while like in one of our previous episodes, which was um like what's up, why, like is this like a normal thing because of the life surface model? There's more for like, is there more beyond that? Like, is our cost too high? Is like the production value too high? Like, what is it? Like, what can you tell me?
It's likely always comes down to cost with these things. I'm sure most of the time when we notice something is cut or missing from a game, the devs probably notice too and wish it was also there. That's how I like to view it. I don't think game developers who make good games, and by good I just mean something that has clear effort and care put into it. Like they clearly want to include as much as they can, but there's always constraints with the medium. There's always deadlines, so that needs to be kept in mind. But then there are examples, which I think is more common with AAA games like Metal Gear 5, where the developers themselves will have a vision and the resources, but get cut off because of a higher up decision or a super specific time constraint because a season is approaching or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. It's always comes down to like shareholder shit to me, probably.
Yeah, when it comes to bigger titles, yeah.
But wouldn't you think that if they were to just hold off and let the whole thing like be churned out in its entirety, like wouldn't you think that the positive feedback would only lead to the game selling even better?
Absolutely. That's yeah, no, that a lot of mega like giant corporations I think make mistakes all the time. Uh where if they considered the consumer and like head of the project more and creators more, it would likely return a greater investment for them than making the silly decisions that turn off consumers and do anti-consumer practices basically that ask you for more and more of your money more frequently, but it gets a more immediate profit,
Yeah.
so I think they struggle with that aspect. Yeah, we know you don't really like it, but we get our money anyways and we get it a lot quicker, so why not do it this way?
It's really dumb. I think like if like reputation was number one in a company, I feel like things would be so much more polished everywhere in the gaming industry. Cause like I remember in the 2010s, 2011, like when I first booted up Infamous and Infamous 2, right? Like that game ran so good. Like I had no issues with it. Like Uncharted 3, 2, and 1, like all like almost out the box were awesome. Like 3 had its issues with multiplayer, and two's multiplayer was very rudimentary. The game was solid. Like it was a solid game, man. Like that, like let's see, like Battlefield 3 had problems at launch when I played it on the PlayStation 3, but then as I played it more and more, it didn't it wasn't bad like at all.
Well,
It,
yeah, I think it's as simple as like the market. Back then, in order to compete, you needed to have a complete game, um, with complete aspects and a full experience. But now you can get away with kind of just getting people on the hook or the premise, getting an early access version or a playtest, and getting excited about the idea and buying into it on a hype train, more so than actually delivering a game.
yeah, I think like early access like shit. It's just like buying stocks. Like dog, you don't know what you're getting. Like at the end.
Yeah, there's no guarantee. It's just a reality of it.
Do you think that should be a thing that should be like allowed? Because like on PlayStation, um, there's no like early access titles. It's like you either have to release the whole thing or you don't. You know.
I think it should be absolutely allowed, because then otherwise, only a select few people will have the ability to like fund their game concepts. Uh, Whereas I do think a big part of it in the beginning was being able to get people to fund your game basically by selling them on a good premise or a good demo, a good early access. Which, you know, there's plenty of examples of. Not every early access is like a manipulative cash grab. But there are a lot of early access games that do not get completed for that reason, I think. And it is a problem, but I do think it is good to have early access titles exist.
Do you think the demo should come back? Because it's I remember it used to be the case where you could play the demo to like a lot of video games.
Oh, yeah. No, demos are great, and Resident Evil, Capcom still goes strong with their demos. Like Resident Evil demos will have unique aspects to them that won't even be in the full game. It's like just unique to the demo. And the demo will still show off what the full game has to offer. It's creative, it's innovative. And we just talked about this before beginning recording, but there was a Street Fighter 6 showcase today that they showed off, and I haven't viewed all of it. It's a lot of information. They basically showed what's going to be in the game, but they do have a demo for SF6 available right now for PlayStation.
Wow,
You could even download that if you wanted to.
I might. I think I might check it out. Yeah, it's really cool, man. Like it'd be cool to see like all the latest games get demos. Like I mean, like maybe like I think that one, what is that one game from Blizzard, the top down Diablo. Diablo's getting Diablo 4 had like an early release beta kind of deal. Like betas are cool too, but you know, I think they like if it's a multiplayer experience, like yeah, I think beta should just be free. Like it's really
Yeah.
dumb that you have to pre-order the game that you want to play the beta for cuz
Yeah, I do. I get annoyed that that's like an aspect they use to draw you to pre-order it or purchase it first. Is you get to play it first, yay! Which also means you get to play test it. Oh, I just paid $60 to be a playtester.
it's funny how they rope you in like that.
Yeah, but I guess aside from cut content, we could transition into new content. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to God of War Ragnarok. I would consider it to be one of the top games that released last year, uh, narratively and visually. They just dropped a new game plus for it at the beginning of April, and I'm only notating this. I wouldn't just notate any game that gets a small update. But not only does it add the entire New Game Plus mode, it also adds new content as well, new cosmetics, and even like original Spartan armor, which makes Kratos look like how he did in the Greek games, which even alters your stats and abilities in kind of a unique game mode. That's just something I wanted to bring up, and that's something that was added completely for free. So, what do you think? Kind of based on what we were just talking about, do you think if this was a different game studio, this could have maybe been something that's paid?
Is it like wait, what was your question one more time?
This new game mode, New Game Plus, and all of the cosmetics and stuff that come with it is completely free. Do you think if this was a different game studio, would it be paid? Would it be paid DLC?
I think if it was like Ubisoft or like to be honest, I don't even like I don't put it past like EA nowadays because they've been on such a stellar good run with their games as of recent. You know, Dead Space is looking like you know, it's just a great game. You know, the last Jedi Jedi like Fallen Order, that was a solid game. Almost all of the content that you had from it was free. Uh, and the
Cool.
only and then like it looks like the Jedi Fallen Order Jedi Survivor, whatever the fuck it's called, the one with the ginger dude called Cal Kestis, right? He which is the Souls like Star Wars game, is seems to be on track with the same manner. I think I'd probably put it on Rockstar's shoulders if they were to make it a paid DLC kind of deal. Probably
Yeah,
Blizzard.
definitely.
I definitely see that coming from Blizzard, but not surprisingly not like EA, despite them being labeled like the devil according to some people.
Oh,
Yeah, like the armors that like you have like access to like almost like all the weapons now, which like with including like the Draupnir spear. Like so
yeah.
like it should be noted that like the areas that do require the spear to access will still remain closed until you reach the actual point in the story where you have to use it.
No, they did that. you don't unlock the sphere until like 2/3 of the way through the story, which unlocks new areas in each area you just visited. So I guess they address that since they're giving you the spear immediately with New Game Plus, you still can't access those areas until you reach that point in the story.
Yeah, there's also what is it, like new armors, which I did look up all the armors that they're adding, the new ones. There's the Cloak of the Black Bear. It starts at level 7. It has it increases immunity duration while evading and last second evades fire a volley of Bifrost shards. There's the armors from that are inspired by Ares and Zeus. So with the which is called a cuirass, I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's a cuirass of Ares, which whenever rage hits a luck chance to drop a health stone, which also grant rage, and all stones trigger bigger explosions. And then there's the Zeus armor, which gives you Divine Edge, which increases Kratos' melee and runic damage by 40%, but increases damage received by 100%. And it stacks with other sources of Divine Edge.
So yeah, these like armor pieces have pros and cons to them.
But the
Like
but the here's the thing.
on their own.
The one armor that seems to be the most notable though is actually the Spartan armor, which is the one where Kratos is basically wearing nothing. He doesn't, according to the game description, it's an unburdened body, minded spirit. So instead of giving you buffs,
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to. That's his armor from the first games.
it's the armor from the first game, and it gives you no extra benefits. Although it seems that it'll be stuck at level 1 for the entire time, and it offers no perks or stat bonuses. But the silver lining though is that players can still equip special enchantments known as burdens to it, which make it actually harder for Kratos.
Yeah.
So
you can make
it's
it even harder if you want.
yeah, make it like it's a legit Souls game.
That sounds intense. Anyone who's a completionist, have fun with that. But to me, that game, if to me harder, it sounds like the enemies would just be more spongier, so you'd have to hack at them more for longer periods of time, which I'm good on that. But it is cool that you could equip these armors, and I know in that game, once you own an armor piece, you can just wear it cosmetically instead of stat wise.
Can you transmogrify armor pieces too?
Well, no, but kind of in the sense where you can. Well, yeah. Sorry, I guess so. I guess that is transmogrifying. You're wearing it, but you can keep the stats but change its appearance based on armor you've collected. So I guess it depends to what extent you mean transmogrify, but I think that's how it works in WoW. You equip a new look on top of armor.
Yeah, according to GameSpot, the way you transmogrify is like you first have to max out the level of the armor you want to transmog before you use it.
Oh, I see. Well, then no. You could just equip a different cosmetic of a different armor over the one you're currently wearing so you can keep the stats.
See, what I do is I wear like the beefiest, best shit I have, max that out, and then just put the Spartan armor over it, like transmogrify it.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that. Perfectly valid way to play.
Yeah. Things that are coming that like content that has came to God of War. It seems like one game is shit out of luck with theirs, such as Dark and Darker. And my homie, my broski, Jared here, he's having a tough time like dealing with the news.
Yes, I'm very upset. This is unacceptable.
Let's talk about it, man.
Seriously, recently there was a game on Steam called Dark and Darker that had a couple success tests. It went up for free for a while, so everyone was just able to play it and try it out, and it got very popular. A lot of people were streaming it. A lot of people were playing and having fun with it. It functions a lot like the game Escape from Tarkov, which if you've never played it, it's basically like a somewhat realistic FPS where you need to escape a zone inhabited by NPCs and other players. Realistic in the sense where like there's no HUD, like 1 or 2 shots will kill you. You need to like bandage yourself. Your bones can break and stuff. So Dark and Darker is a lot like that, but in a medieval dungeon setting. So you're in a fantasy party. You've got like an archer, a mage, a warrior, and it's somewhat realistic in the sense where you're taking realistic damage and you need to escape this crypt. So it got very popular. It was developed by Iron Mace Studios. And I'm only bringing this up because there's been a lot of news surrounding it for the past almost a month now. But at the end of March, the game got taken down from Steam because of a DMCA takedown notice from Nexon. Nexon also develops video games, and basically their claim was they had devs that left Nexon, and those devs went on to develop Dark and Darker. Nexon is essentially in their takedown claiming that they kind of took some files with them or assets from Nexon with them when they left, and are using that in Dark and Darker in their claim. I don't know, and there's not enough information to like definitively say like which side is true. But Iron Mace has verbally stated that the claims are not accurate. They said their literal words are the claims are distorted. So you can make of that what you will. But it's only since Escalade. They were supposed to have more playtests recently, and that never happened because it still got taken down from Steam. And just a few days ago, Nexon took the situation even further by suing Iron Gate. So it's getting even worse now.
Holy shit, man.
Essentially, they need over $500,000 for legal fees in what's now became a giant legal case. Once again, I don't have enough information about the situation because not enough has been released to the public. But to me, this seems rather aggressive of Nexon. And to what I understand, they only started doing this when Dark and Darker got really popular. So, it kind of makes me uneasy, to be honest.
Yeah, according to Ryan Dinsdale, who wrote the article that we're gonna be quoting here from in IGN, it says that the the lawsuit added that condoning the defendant's conduct would threaten Nexon, the video game industry, and all the consumers who enjoyed playing sophisticated video games. Video game developers would not be able to invest years' worth of person hours in developing video games if their employees could simply transfer their employer's project files to their own personal servers and start a new company.
Okay, so that is Nexon's official claim. They're claiming they just took their files and are using them.
Yeah, and it says nearly half of Iron Gate employees are made up of former Nexon staff, though the lawsuit only names two as former staff who signed 1 year non-competitive clause in their contracts.
Okay, so I get wow, they're talking about the similarities here. Both games feature chests opened by the player moving their hand in a circular motion. Both games feature glowing potions worn on belts around the player character's waist.
That's it. That's the.
You can cite other games that also do this.
Yep. Well, hey, guess what though? That's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Wow, if we'll see if that holds up. If they provide like more specific examples, then maybe they do have a case to be made here. But if they're really going off of a circular hand motion to open chests and a glowing potion bottle, that's pretty wild. But yeah, still very limited information, but a constantly updated story. I do hope this doesn't become a case of like the quote-unquote little man just being snuffed out to prevent their success.
Hey Jared, if you scroll down, you'd also see that they started a GoFundMe for $500,000 for legal fees, and if you were to click on that, it shows that like leads so the legal battle between Dark and Darker developer Iron Mace and game publisher Nexon continues to get messier as a surrounding a GoFundMe campaign over the weekend, because apparently because they did the GoFundMe like in advance to pay up legal fees, like a lot of people are saying like this is like a scam or some shit.
Yeah, it seems, yeah, right here one of them is quoted as saying the reality of the situation is that their end goal is to bleed us dry in court fees. And that is true, honestly. That has been a tactic used by corporations in the past, is just sue you and drown you in legal fees until you submit, because they can afford to just keep hiring lawyers and stuff to just, perpetuate paperwork. Whereas, it costs money for a normal person to do that. And yeah, that's often a strategy used, is either wearing out money or time for the people that either want change or the pay they deserve.
Yeah, not cool, bro. You know, one thing that I would say is that I hope this game does get released. Is I mean, if my stepbrother says it's like this game is swag, then I think it's swag. Like I'm not
Yeah, I
gonna
really wish I played the play tests. But yeah, you should check out some gameplay of it. It's pretty unique.
swag. Yeah, and then another thing that I feel like I should be suing about would be the fact that fucking like back in the early 2000s, like mid 2010s, when mobile games were starting to pop around with phones, a lot of people were thinking that like mobile games were the future and were going to destroy consoles and the PC video game space.
Oh yeah.
How's that going so far?
It's definitely dominant when it comes to, or definitely neck and neck or dominant when it comes to profit margins. Way more people spend money on mobile games than any other kind of game because way more people have access to mobile games than any other kind of game. That's really all there is to it. I do think they have a tendency to be pretty shameless in how they push their advertisements and can be pretty low quality, either in just making cool looking models and a cool first level and then hitting you with a paywall or something, or just being very mind numbing, just trying to prompt you to get to spend microtransactions.
That's insane. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Well, I remember when the like what you would call like the golden age when and mobile games were in their heyday. Like, what are like the most notable games you played growing up on your phone that you remember downloading, or even iPod when that thing was around?
The Supercell games. So that's the Clash games, Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Clash Dunk. I think there was a third one that didn't do as good, but I played that one for a little.
I remember playing like the original Angry Birds, Clash of Clans, not Clash of Clans. I did play that for like a smidge. There was what is it? Not Clash of Clans. Fuck. Angry Birds, right? Plants vs Zombies 2. I didn't play the first one because you had to pay for that one. There was Jetpack.
Zombies.
Yeah.
One.
Which one? Sorry.
Plants vs Zombies.
Yeah. There was also Jetpack Joyride. I remember that one. Down like I think it's uphill or downhill racing. The Fruit Ninja. Jeez, man. There were so many cool ones back then.
The older ones I think are pretty iconic.
Temple Run. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're stamped in the cultural memory.
Yeah, and then like what has happened to like mobile games since then?
It's just a lot more saturated and easy to replicate.
It's like a
A lot
billion
more,
run games, bro.
yeah, a lot more people have access to the tools required to make a mobile game. Almost anyone can make a mobile game if they have the time and the computer.
Yeah, it's not for me. Like I tried. I only have like the only game I really have on my phone is like checkers, and that's when I play with my lady friend. But other than that, I don't have anything else, dude. Like I tried downloading like Alto's Adventure, which is one I used to play a while back. It's really good. Like I really enjoyed that one. But unfortunately, like I just couldn't like I played a couple like I played it for like 20 like 10 minutes and I deleted it off my phone again. I don't know if like young people that are younger than me also play phone games. I just don't know anyone who currently does like actively play phone games. I know you still play like which is it, Cock, right? Clash of Clans.
No, I play Clash Royale.
Oh, that's right.
Which is it's not a very good game.
No, why is it?
It's just they add continue to add content to it, which it's been out since 2016. So like the stuff they release now is just really gimmicky.
How so?
And if I can't play it idly like I used to and just win. Now if I play it idly, it's harder to win. So I don't like it as much.
Gotcha. That's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah. I know there's like bigger ones. I know Diablo Immortal, its own thing for a while. That was like one of the headers for the whole mobile game phone thing being not very popular of a concept. But that's still going. It looks like it's still a success.
Gotcha.
Even though it was like it had verbal opposition at first.
Yeah,
But
it's not good, man. Yeah, yeah, man. Phone games I think are so bleak because like here in the West, like I think they're shit. But if you go down to like the Eastern Europe, like probably around Asia, you have what is it? PUBG is like one of the biggest games that I think are played is that are played in like India of all places, and also there's like Call of Duty, like the phone one. A lot of people play that one too,
mhm,
and but yeah, not here. I think the wet. I think it's the influence of phone games has definitely died down since then.
I agree. And yeah, it's really become more about like what's the best way to get an advertisement seen or tapped on or get an advertisement across. Which I think that's a good way to transition into our final topic for the evening, um, which is this kind of ridiculous realization here that the Windows 11 update, the most recent one, has put out notifications for ads.
No boy.
So it's integrated into the operating system, it seems like, into the start button, the iconic Windows start button. So almost a guarantee to be interacted with the user. And I just can't help but feel like this is just inevitable. But they've been doing this kind of stuff with their Office already. If you were to like try and download Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or something, it's going to prompt you to pay for the Office plan, which it's always had a cost, but it got a little pushier with that being a subscription service, and you would see ads for it in your settings and stuff for Office 365. And now it seems like it's made its way to the start button. What do you think about that?
Well, personally, as a residential pirate, I think that I think ads are just like the bane of my existence online. I hate them. If
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to circumvent ads, I will always do it. No one likes ads. It's like waking up and then the first thing you do is like, "Hey man, you have to watch a 30-second ad before like brushing your teeth." Like I don't like ads. They suck. And like when I open up my computer, I don't want the first thing to like be like, "Hey bro, do you want to buy this new bullshit?" Like but and have it as a notification. Like if it's like, hey, like would you like to maybe look at this bullshit? Just like, dude, like fuck off. Like I no one like I feel like you're inclined to agree with me, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right when you say no one likes ads. I think the problem is they know nobody likes ads. I think they're just trying to normalize it though. And I think to a degree it is already normalized.
we should never normalize ads.
With like even the way like something popular like TikTok is designed, like ads are embedded into the design of the app. You are guaranteed to swipe past an ad just by using it, and that's how everything's designed nowadays. There's an attempt to normalize advertisements as a part of our daily life, and I think this is another example of that. Which I hope it gets negative reception and isn't taken further than a tiny notification.
Yeah, so according to the publication called NeoWin, they're saying that beta users were able to disable the ads by navigating to settings, personalization, star, and then clicking off show account related notifications occasionally and start.
Oh,
According to Microsoft
interesting.
11's preview release notes, the notifications are only being deployed to a small audience but will reach more broadly in the coming months.
Looks
And
like they're testing the waters.
yeah, I mean, I think like the water is already filled with sharks and blood, but they're still gonna make people jump in the water anyways.
I see. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very. It seems like almost like a bleak way to kind of wrap this up. So I mean, to the folks that's still like rocking like Windows 10, like some of you might not like it and are thinking about switching. I guarantee you, if you fuck with the settings, you're going to tailor it to something you would like more. I find the tile system that they have in Windows 10 to be awesome. I configured mine so when I press the start menu button, it fills up my entire screen, and I have like all of my like every single game, every single like application, every single streaming service, every single like Microsoft like application like Word, the calculator, the time, the weather, the settings, the recycle bin, like everything. Some people would like rather like bombard their like wallpaper like their screen with all the shortcuts. Well, but I on the other hand don't think it's cool because I like having a very minimalistic, sleek design. Where it's like if I have a wallpaper, I want to look at it, right? I don't want to look at all the bullshit I have on my computer, you know. And that's where I have all my stuff saved is on the start menu, on the tiles, and you know, I don't know. Windows 10 is I think objectively like has a lot of like really great settings, but like you've already switched to Windows 11, right?
Yeah, I have.
And like compared to Windows 10, what is there that what are the pros and cons?
Well, like you said, the nice thing about 10 was that you were able to have that one screen with all the panels that showed everything at once. That's gone in 11. I don't know how they did it, but overall, my CPU runs cooler. Couple degrees Celsius cooler overall. And the Windows functionality, literally of the Windows, is a lot smoother and seamless. There's a lot more pre-made layouts for window arrangements that like don't break and flicker and glitch out like they have in the past. It's very inconsequential if you accidentally move a window into a spot you don't like, at the cost of, yeah, losing that one panel screen from 10 that was pretty nice. They also changed some of the icons, which that's just based on your opinion. I think they're fine. I think they're fine either way, 10 or 11. Other than that, I haven't noticed anything too drastically different. Performance wise, the settings layout is different again. It's a little annoying because they like recently updated it on 10, so I wasn't even used to that yet. So that's just me. But overall, I think it is pretty good. There is that news panel with all the ads and stuff. I have that disabled, and I there was some stuff I had to disable in 11 by default for it to be not overwhelming.
So would you chalk it up to preference? Like, would you favorite 10 over 11 or 11 over 10? Would you go back? Would you stick with it? Are you just used to it by now? What's up?
I think they're both good. Um, I would probably use 10 for now and then switch to 11 later. And I'm not really surprised by that. That's kind of how it's been. I remember 10 wasn't super on release, but it got better. And 11's already gotten a lot of updates since its inception, so it's likely going to be in the case. 10's probably better now. In a year, 11 will probably be better.
Swag. All right, man. Do you want to sign us off?
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. We went through quite a few things today, kind of film, cinema, into video games, and the roads in between. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Jared from Midnight Lab.
And this has been Retro Loneliness from your Twitch and the Wonders Podcast. Yep. So yeah, we are the Wonders Podcast. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the delay. We wanted to give you guys a more robust episode. You know, we're almost nearing 2 hours now. We're kind of one could say it could be for making up for like the smaller episode that we had the last release. Instead what we gave you is a more dense packed and bigger episode for those who take even longer shits than usual to definitely enjoy. And for my homies that also commute down the road, thank you for checking out the podcast. You guys are awesome. You know, we are currently at 51 followers. You know, which is a kind of a kind of a milestone. You know,
It's a start.
we're halfway there to 100 followers, and with school like ending around the corner, it'll be a lot easier for us to probably find more things to talk about and or be more engaging in social media. So, you know, stick around and tell your folks. So, yeah, thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.